Hello and thank you for joining us on the news on NTA International. I'm Najat Atutujani and these are the headlines. Code of Conduct Tribunal fixes Thursday to give judgment on alleged false declaration of assets by suspended Chief Justice of Nigeria. Security operatives resolve to relocate to remote areas to curtail activities of bandits in Zamfara State. Nigeria begins bilateral arrangements with neighboring countries to check cross-border smuggling threatening national sovereignty. And now the news in detail. The Code of Conduct Tribunal has fixed Thursday, the 18th of April, for judgment on the Assets Declaration case of Justice Walter Onogen. This follows the hearing of the final submissions of both the prosecution and defense. Judiciary correspondent Femi Okio has the details.
The content of the final addresses of both the prosecution and defense are still reflective of the positions they have held since day one of this trial. After exactly 4 months of trial, the case of Justice Walter Onogen now has a terminal date, at least at the Code of Conduct Tribunal, where the Constitution provides that all asset declaration matters must commence from. Both prosecution and defense, while adopting their final addresses, restated their positions. The prosecution, led by Aliu Umar, SAN, asked the tribunal to convict Justice Walter Onogen and hold that the accusation of non- and false asset declaration had succeeded and been proved against him. But the defense, led by Okon Nkanu, said that the prosecution had a defective charge, stressing that the charges contradict themselves in that non-asset declaration and false asset declaration were not charges known to the law. The defense said as a result, none of the charges could be proved beyond reasonable doubt, which was the standard of proof required by the law.
All of us agreed that it is the hard evidence that was presented before the tribunal by both the prosecution and the defense it is based on that a decision will be made.
The essential ingredients is the falsity of declaration and the failure to declare. And we contend that both were missing.
The Code of Conduct Tribunal now has the responsibility of determining where the pendulum swings in the matter of the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Walter Onogen. In Abuja, Femi Okewu, NTA News.
And still on judicial matters, a federal high court sitting in Lagos has ordered an interim forfeiture of the property traced to former Minister of Petroleum Resources, Diezani Alison Madueke, that is Donald Chidi Amangbo and Sequoia Properties Limited. Justice Chuka Obiozo gave the order while ruling on an ex-parte motion at the instance of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. The property is located at Plot 9, Azikwe Road, Old GRA, Port Harcourt, Rivers State. The matter has been adjourned to May 9, 2019. Meanwhile, the Akwa Ibom State Election Petitions Tribunal sitting in Uyo has granted an ex-parte order for substituted service on Governor Udom Emmanuel of the People's Democratic Party. The tribunal also granted the prayers of the first and second petitioners, Tsima Ekiri and the All Progressives Congress, to have access to all electoral materials used by INEC. Clement Barikui reports.
In 2 separate motions ex parte brought to the tribunal pursuant to sections 145, 151 and 155 of the Electoral Act 2010 as amended, the petitioners noted that since time is of the essence, there is need to serve the petition and other court processes on the first respondent, Governor Domimane, as all effort to serve him personally have been unsuccessful. Chairman of the tribunal, Justice Abdul Hamid Yakubu, in a leave also granted an order allowing the petitioners to inspect, copy, photocopy and obtain certified true copies of all electoral materials related to or in connection with the conduct of the National Assembly elections held on February 23, 2019. Counsel to the petitioners, Victor Iyanam, had earlier prayed the tribunal for leave allowing the applicants to bring the application and argue same before the pre-hearing session.
Efforts to serve the governor failed, so the court has granted us leave to serve by basing at the PDP office in Uyo.
Meanwhile, the tribunal has received 2 petitions out of the 3 senatorial districts, 8 out of 10 federal constituencies, and 23 petitions out of 26 state constituencies in Akwa Ibom. In Uyo, Clement Barikui, NTA News.
Nigeria has begun a robust engagement with its immediate neighbors Niger and Benin Republic to tackle once and for all cross-border smuggling, which is threatening national sovereignty. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyema, hosted a joint inter-ministerial meeting in Abuja Monday ahead of the tripartite meeting on anti-smuggling. Foreign Desk correspondent Makut Simon Macham was there for NTA News.
Worried by the persistent activities of smugglers using Nigeria's porous borders to undermine its economic prosperity and threaten its peace, President Muhammadu Buhari engaged his colleagues in Niger and Benin Republics to come up with a common front to deal with the issue. This interministerial meeting of key government ministries and agencies hosted by Minister of Foreign Affairs Geoffrey Onyema is preparatory to the tripartite anti-smuggling committee meeting of the 3 countries scheduled to hold soon. Representatives from the Ministries of Agriculture, Finance, Interior, Justice, the Nigeria Customs and Immigration Services met for several hours on Monday to identify the challenges and adopt a strategy that will put an end to cross-border smuggling, which is threatening the nation's sovereignty.
So this was a preparatory meeting amongst ourselves to go through again all the issues and to come up with a common position and present that to Mr. President, and so that we can have a basis for engaging with our country, with those other countries.
We're talking about weapons coming in, about smuggling coming in as well. And we just want to take steps to make sure that we increase security here and make Nigerians happier.
When the 3 countries meet, Nigeria will be putting on the table some of the tough decisions arrived at in this meeting to protect its citizens and their well-being. In Abuja, Makut Simon Macham, NTA News.
Similarly, security operatives in Zamfara State have resolved to relocate to remote areas where armed bandits operate as part of efforts to end the incessant killings and kidnappings in the state. The state governor, Abdulaziz Yari, disclosed this while briefing journalists shortly after a meeting with stakeholders on the issue. Halaru Muhammad Umar reports.
The recurrent killings and kidnappings by armed bandits in Zamfara State prompted the state governor Abdulaziz Yari to summon a meeting with various stakeholders, including traditional rulers, local government council chairmen, heads of security agencies, and other top government functionaries for a way forward. The meeting, which discussed and analyzed the security apparatus in the state, came up with far-reaching resolutions.
Definitely, we have seen what happened and we are taking countermeasure. Just recently, GOC after 100 displaced. We are watching throughout the state. So we are putting all on ground. But we are doing it for the betterment of Zamfara people in Nigeria, not under any pressure.
The governor expressed his administration's commitment to collaborating with neighboring states towards tackling the security challenges. He used the medium to commend the federal government over the recent banning of mining activities in the state, describing the decision as timely. Security operatives in the state say they are more than ever determined to end the reign of bandits that have been terrorizing the state.
The issues concerned have been taken care of. We are going to face the basic work. And we promise Nigerians that from today, they will hear good news. Operations will be carried out.
Currently, troops fighting bandits are said to have relocated to remote areas where the culprits operate to face them head-on. In Gusau, Halaru Muhammad Umar, NTA News.
Now, a coalition of civil society organizations under the Open Government Partnership has advocated better attention and government involvement on pertinent matters which affect citizens. Doing Dia reports that this was at the second General Open Alliance meeting in Abuja.
With over 120 members registered under the Open Alliance, the involvement of civil society organizations on issues of good governance, inclusiveness, security, justice and equity, as well as the protection of human rights and the unity of the country amongst others, are areas that have received attention in recent times, thanks to the first National Action Plan, which is providing the direction for members. The second General Open Alliance therefore is to review past activities and come up with a new work plan.
The OGP comes with a number of principles, among them transparency, accountability and citizen participation. Citizens should be able to say to government at any point in time, what really are you doing? What have you done? And we are also, as part of that process, supposed to have in place what is called a permanent dialogue mechanism.
The meeting is also considering a reform on matters of priority by providing the right platform for consultations between the government and the governed.
It's important that we review CSO participation and their contribution to the implementation of the National Action Plan.
Alima Ben Umar from Kano State.
Now, looking at population growth now, birth registration in Nigeria has shown improvements in the last decade as the country has made significant strides in strengthening demographic governance. This is evident from the increased coverage from 41.5% in 2011 to 46.9% in 2016, released during the public inauguration of Impact Evaluation Report of UNICEF-supported birth registration program in Nigeria 2012 to 2016. Justin Bem-Unyi reports.
Despite the fact that birth registration remains pivotal to child well-being, low birth registration rates remain a global challenge, as is the case in Nigeria. Available statistics of 2011 by Multiple Indicator Cluster Survey indicated birth registration rates of 41%, implying that 3 in every 5 children were not registered. It was in this context that the birth registration program aimed at accelerating birth registration rates, particularly for children under 5 years, was initiated and implemented by the National Population Commission and supported by UNICEF Nigeria Country Office. And now is the inauguration of the Impact Evaluation Report of the 4-year program. According to the evaluation report, the birth registration program has been a successful one, with demonstrated results in improved service delivery and generating demand. Overall, 28.6 million children of all age bands, that is 0 to 17, were registered throughout the program life cycle. Particularly, the National Population Commission's partnership with the health sector contributed to a surge in birth registration numbers for children under the age of 1. With an annual average of 2.2 million, cumulatively 11 million under 1 children were registered through the program between 2012 and 2016.
The report will therefore serve as a roadmap for the Commission in the implementation of further programs and activities.
Birth registration is a clear priority and part of UNICEF's 4 pillars of child rights: survival, development, protection, and participation.
The report requested that the National Population Commission, as a primary service provider, may need to take greater ownership and a proactive approach on registration of newborn children and all other children who are still unregistered. In Abuja, Justin Bem-Unyi, NTA News.
Thank you, Justin. You're watching the news on NTA International. There'll be more updates after this timeout. Stay tuned. It's nice to know you're still watching. Now, culture can be a driving tool for wealth creation, poverty reduction, employment generation, and social integration if adequately harnessed through platforms like carnivals. Hence, the convergence of stakeholders on Abuja to brainstorm on the way forward regarding Nigeria's rich cultural heritage in the 2019 Abuja Carnival. Gloria Kanem reports.
The 2019 edition of the Abuja Carnival, with the theme Culture for Peace, is poised to provide a platform to unwind, recreate and continue the task of nation building by exploring the arts, culture and tourism sector, which can create diversity in the Nigerian economy from mono source of income.
I'm so glad that we are having the stakeholders meeting today for the 2019 Abuja Carnival. The essence is actually to strategize with the stakeholders on how to come up with a very robust carnival this year. And we are starting this early because we want to create more awareness so that people will know that this carnival is going to be different from other carnivals.
I urge the delegates to sit down and look at the critical issues that will tarnish the image of Abuja Carnival, and we try to avoid all other things that will showcase other bad cultural heritages that will be a global world.
The carnival will feature street carnival, floats, carnival kings and queens, durbar, children fiesta, masquerade, and many more entertaining pieces. Also featuring prominently in this year's carnival are other countries like South Africa and Brazil. The 12th edition of the 2019 Abuja Carnival is scheduled to begin from 23rd November to 25th November 2019. In Abuja, Glory Ekanem, NTA News.
Thank you, Glory. We're certainly looking forward to that carnival there. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has congratulated former president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, Ibrahim Khalil Inuwa, on his 70th birthday, praising him for many years of meritorious service to the nation. The president joins the Inuwa family, friends and professional colleagues in celebrating the milestone, which has been lined with many achievements and recognitions for his sacrifices, selflessness and diligence in contributing to the development of the country. President Buhari affirms that the celebrant, who started out in the Ministry of Works and Housing in the 70s and later moved to the Ministry of Rural and Community Development, Kano, used his talent and qualifications for the betterment of society, willingly accepting opportunities to serve. And now we take business news.
Many thanks for joining me. Now, Nigeria's external reserves are set to hit 6 months high of $45 billion before the end of April, as foreign portfolio investors sustained dollar injection in a bid to take advantage of the double-digit interest rates on Nigeria's fixed income instruments. Data from the CBN shows that the reserves rose to $44.7 billion as of April, maintaining an upward trend for the 6th consecutive week. And Nigerian governments have been urged to intensify its stance on smuggling, which is said to be stifling the local markets, but adds that it must apply best global practice in the transit of goods, which stipulates that transit goods proceed straight to the country of receipt. It is on record that regulators have been on the alert to drastically reduce smuggling, while stressing the need for Nigeria to turn its ports into an attractive hub to lift the nation's GDP. And away from Nigeria, European markets edged higher amid Easter break. London won 0.1%, while Frankfurt gained 0.3%, and Paris added 0.2%. Investors set aside last week's concerns about a possible new trade war between the US and the European Union after President Donald Trump threatened to hit the bloc with tariffs over subsidies to aviation giant Airbus. That's the package. I'm Chiazalam Ekie.
And now Uche Ugochukwu brings us updates from around the world.
You're welcome. The South African government has been tasked to take strong actions over its citizens involved in recent flare-up of xenophobic violence in the country. Two human rights groups are calling for urgent investigations, arrest and prosecution of persons believed to be behind the attacks that lasted about a week. South Africa-based African Diaspora Forum and Human Rights Watch said the government needed to do more than just condemning the attacks. Sudanese protesters moved to block an attempt on Monday to break up a sit-in outside the Defense Ministry, where demonstrators have been pushing for a quick transition to civilian rule after President Omar al-Bashir was ousted. Troops had gathered on 3 sides of the sit-in and tractors were preparing to remove stones and metal barricades, but protesters joined hands and formed rings around the sit-in area to prevent them. Israel's President Reuven Rivlin began post-election consultations on Monday with political parties that will lead to his appointment of a candidate to form a government. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's nomination seemed virtually ensured after his right-wing Likud won the largest number of parliamentary seats in last week's ballot, and his closest rival Benny Gantz of the centrist Blue and White Party conceded defeat.